Hello guys, welcome to the Trading Parrot. Let's be honest guys, when we join 3commas for the first time, the first thing that you will do normally is you go straight into the DCA bots, you select Gordon bot, you pick one of the levels of risk, you assign an amount of money, and that's how we start, right? But we know that these are very user-friendly bots that allow you to get started very quickly with the platform and to have an idea of how good or bad the platform can be. But in fact, there's just too many people using the basic settings of these bots at the same time, which doesn't make them really the most effective way to take full advantage of the bots in this platform. Today we'll present 11 tips that every new user on 3commas should consider once you want to take your bots to the next level. This video is both for beginners and also for new users of 3commas that you want to get up to speed very quickly. This is the Trading Parrot. In this channel, I focus on mainly 4 areas: building a growth portfolio on Trading 212, building a social portfolio on eToro, crypto and automated trading bots on 3commas and ProQuant. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and select the notification bell so you get notified every time we post a video. In order to get notified of our buy and sell signals, make sure you join our Discord server. All people joining before we hit 1,000 YouTube subscribers will benefit from lifetime access to all the channels, including the buy, sell signals and the top performing bots. And if you are interested in getting some extra premium content, have a look at our Patreon and Fiverr accounts where you can find all the one-to-one dedicated support and help via Zoom calls that you can imagine. You can find all the links in the description below. So as a typical user just joining 3commas for the first day, you will probably go straight into DCA bots. You will try to find where is the Gordon bot and you will try to set up one of them, right? And what is the first thing that is asking you? The system is going to ask you for what's the level of risk that you want to take with the bot. In the Gordon setup, that's the only question that you are being asked. And if we draw a chart of time versus money, and let's say you pick the riskier one, the riskier one probably is going to offer you the best, profits compared to the 3 levels. You also have a moderate somewhere here, and let's say the conservative sits below the moderate. That kind of makes sense. So what's the difference? Well, the difference, apart from the profit, and the ride is going to be very different through time. So you're going to perceive on the riskier much more volatility. It's going to be something crazy. I'm being actually very optimistic here. It went straight up, but actually it could be that it starts down and then it goes up. That's more kind of what we all have experienced once at least with a risky bot. Then the moderate is going to be a little bit more balanced, still with some hiccups, but compared to the riskier, you should expect less volatility, and the conservative way closer to the line, and yeah, some ups and downs as well. So these tips that I'm gonna share with you actually are not meant to be used all at the same time. I mean, you shouldn't use the 11 tips at the same time. Some of these tips are going to, push the performance up or push the performance down. And you're going to ask me, well, so why are you sharing a tip that's going to affect negatively the performance? Well, because some of these tips are meant to help you making the default settings a little bit more conservative and avoid having some false negative or some deals that they take forever to close. So there's different things that we probably want to tweak depending on our own preferences. So take these 11 tips as I'm going to take note the ones it feels like I want to have that sort of experience. I want to improve the bot in that way. And it's not always I want to just improve the performance. Sometimes I want to make it a little bit more conservative. I'm tired of this bot opening wrong deals, etc. This kind of thinking you need to apply and then cherry pick the tips that you actually want. So let's get started with the tips. Tip number 1. When you are in the list of bots, it's very difficult to compare one bot with another. You're going to end up with multiple bots, and it's going to very quickly get unmanageable. So the first tip is name your bots properly. The default bot of a Gordon is normally my composite bot, which is terrible. You won't remember what was it about after you start trying different strategies. So in order to change the name, when you land in the edit page of the Gordon for the first time, you're going to have to go to advanced. That's the only place you can change the name. Then after that, you can remove the composite bot, and here's the suggestion for the name. So for example, this bot is using a total of 991 USD dollar. So I suggest you call the bot, you start with the amount of money. That's very important. When you have a multiple choice, at least you can see, okay, this is for 1K, this is for 10K, or this is for 100K, you know, it matters. So first call it 1K, for example. Then look at the coins you're using. You're trading on top of USDT. This is a composite bot. So let's call it USDT all, because it's trading USDT versus all coins. Very simple. And the next thing that matters a lot to me is what's the strategy I'm using. Well, here I'm using QFL at 3. At least you should mention something like this, QFL 3. So you remember, and if you're using, you know, on another one, QFL, you know, different settings you also want to know. But if you want more detail, you can also mention here whether this is the riskier one. You know, the original QFL is normally the setting for the riskier. So you have to remember that day trading, I think, is moderate, and conservative is the conservative. So you can use, you can mention that as well if you want. You can make it more verbose. Just bear in mind that if the name is too long, you won't be able to see the name in the iOS app, which really sucks. The app is not as great as the Android one, but on iOS you cannot see a very long name, so you probably will be able to see up until here, which is really annoying. Hope they fix it soon. Then you need to follow the name if you really want a meaningful name, possibly by the stop loss. The stop loss is critical to know what level of stop loss you have in your bot, especially when things are turning ugly. You're going to want to know which ones you set up stop loss, which one is tighter, so you rec first, etc. So here I tend to put then amount of stop loss followed by stop loss. And if I don't have stop loss, I still say no stop loss, because I really freak out when I need to take care of the bots quickly. I then can filter all the ones that they have stop loss, no stop loss, the ones that are doing QFL, CQS, etc. All of that in your name is a must-have. That's the tip number 1. So tip number 2, this could give you a comparative advantage in certain circumstances. So this is called the deal start delay parameter. You can find it in the advanced settings of the bot. You could consider from 1 or 2 seconds maybe to wait when you get the signal, and not straight go and open the deal. And this could give you a comparative advantage versus all the mass of traders that they are reacting to the signal, and you actually enter slightly after. If the price is on a trend down, you know, you're going to benefit maybe from a slightly better price. So don't overuse this. Don't go crazy. Don't put 200 seconds, because that wouldn't make any sense. But 1-2 seconds could, with certain signals, can give you a best advantage versus the rest of the people. That's the tip number 2. Tip number 3, and this is to do with the take profit. So all the Gordon bots, the default settings are quite ambitious compared to the settings of other bots. They all come with 2%, which means that the price from the entry price, it needs to go 2% up before it can take profit, which is quite high. I mean, for a DCA bot, most of the people, they use 1%, and even some more conservative people, they go for 0.8, right? That the lower that you pick the take profit, the more, you know, often and the sooner you will be able to close deals. You will be making less money, right, in a single deal, of course. But if this is using the right way with the right signal, you could be closing much quicker and getting the profit much more often. And sometimes it can also give you a very good advantage if the price goes up to 1.5%, for example, and then there's a retracement and it drops. You could have taken 1.5, but you didn't take anything because you were waiting for it to get to 2%. Tip number 4. So this tip is to do with once we take profit, using a trailing deviation. So consider using one, because once we hit the 2%, if you have this enabled and you set it, normally you will set it to 2% of the take profit. So in this case it's 0.2. If you have one here, you will go for 0.1, etc. But if you have this enabled, it means that if the price goes up above 2% and it keeps going up without any drop, you can keep making more profit and more profit. I mean, in theory, this is absolutely impossible, but in theory, you can get to 200% with a trailing deviation, as long as the price never drops more than 0.2% during the whole journey going above the 2%. So that's very low likely, but you could benefit sometimes from a 3, a 4%. It all depends on how aggressive the price is going up when it's crossing the 2%. If it's actually fluctuating, you can actually end up making less than 2%. Sometimes in this scenario here, the worst case, you can make 1.8, and that will happen if you hit the 2% just above, and the trailing deviation gets activated, and suddenly the price drops aggressively down, in which case you end up taking 1.8. So consider it like a trade-off. Some deals are going to end up in 1.8, but maybe some others are going to end up in 3, 4, 5. So it's a good tip. I personally always have the trailing enabled, and it's very, I tend to see more often higher profit rates than the 1.8. So I believe it's a good compromise. So this is the tip number 5. Consider splitting your bots in groups of coins. Don't necessarily have a single bot with all the coins together. One way to split the coins that could really work very well is to have some bots that they trade only BTC against USDT. So you can enable that bot for when BTC is bullish, and then disable it when it's bearish. You can also group it's a good idea to group all the low cap coins, all the coins that are priced very low, and only enable it when they go bullish. And a third group that I tend to also have all together is bots that are trading all the top coins except for BTC. So, Ethereum, ADA, all the XRP, Silico. So all the top coins that can be up to 10, it's good to have them together because they tend to follow what Bitcoin did. So if Bitcoin was bullish for 1 week on the upside, and you were making a lot of money with the DCA bot of BTC, then as soon as it settles, it's time to start enabling the top coins. And when you see the signal for the altcoins, then you can enable the other bots, the other group of bots. So that gives you much more flexibility on what you want to enable or disable. If you have everything in a single bot, you never know when to switch on what or which one. So it's much more difficult. Tip number 6, consider getting a signal to control when your bots are on or off. This is very useful. There are some paid signals, there are free signals as well. There are indicators on TradingView that you can use for this, but the main point is having something that can forecast the price of either BTC or the altcoins and know in advance, or have some idea of how things are going to be in the next days, and therefore switching on and off accordingly your bots depending on what's the forecast, right? And actually it's very simple. I have recorded a while ago a video that explained this step by step. The link is in the description or appearing on your screen. And in this video I explain step by step, you know, how to copy this text from here, that you need to have it in the alert and trading views. It's very simple. It takes just a few minutes, and then you don't have to be caring, you know, and switching them on and off based on emotions. You actually can follow an actual indicator that, you know, can forecast more accurately what's going to happen, when is it good to have it on, when is it bad to have it off, etc. Tip number 7. How many times has it happened to you that you enter a deal? It's not necessarily, you know, going down and you're not losing a lot, but neither you're being able to close the deal. It's taking forever. And that's because you enter in a deal with a coin that was on very low volume. And the way to filter that out, to try to, you know, get away with deals that have more chances to close sooner, is by increasing the minimum daily volume that you expect to be in that coin before you open a deal. So you could consider from 10 to 50 or even higher than that to filter those low volume coins. And by doing that, it kind of increases the chances that your trades are going to close sooner. But bear in mind that by enabling this as well, you're going to miss out on some other trades that maybe took longer, but also it was a lot of profit that you might have missed. So two options: either you don't use it and maybe you make more profit, or you want to filter them all out and you just want trades that are very quick. It's up to you. Tip number 8. Some people have had very bad experiences with cheap coins. So coins that are extremely cheap. And the reason for that is because the cheaper a coin is, and the more crazy things can happen to that coin. Of course, they can go 2,000% up or 2,000% down in a couple of minutes, and that can turn into something really great or something really bad. So for the people that have experienced this, or if you really want to stay away from them, I suggest that you use the minimum price to open deal. And this is again in BTC, so you will have to set up something like this. Should be able to filter out those too cheap, too low priced coins, and help avoid things going too crazy. Tip number 9. If you're like me and you are on an exchange that supports leverage tokens, there's a way to filter them. So there's something called the blacklist, which is at the top of the list of all your bots. And the blacklist, bear in mind, that is shared between the paper trading account and the real account. So if you add a pair here that you want to blacklist, you don't want to trade it, that is also going to affect the real account. That took me a mistake to learn, because I wanted to clear the blacklist in the paper trading. I wanted to use all of them, and then suddenly I moved to the real account. I realized they were all wiped because I removed them from the paper account. They're shared, so be careful with that. But if you don't want to trade with leverage, you don't want to use margin coins, consider adding them all here. On Binance it's pretty simple because they are all named ended in down or in up, so you can just search here for up. I don't find anything because they are all there, but if I remove one and I search for up, they will appear, and then you can add them here. After that, I suggest you collapse the blacklist, because this UI is terrible. You can hit accidentally one of them, like BTC down, and suddenly you're going to enter long on BTC down, which means you're shortening BTC with leverage. Okay, so you can lose a crazy amount of money by making that mistake. Consider adding leverage there. If you're a beginner, if you don't know what I'm talking about, make sure that if you're on Binance, at least search for up and down, add them all before you enable any bot on a real account. Tip number 10. Consider connecting your 3commas to Telegram. This is pretty useful because actually you can get notified of everything that's going on with the bots with notifications. You can have it on desktop. You can also, control your account from Telegram. So you can go with help here. You will get a list of commands that you can perform. You can see all the bots you're running, your subscription, your active deals, stats, everything. And you can tell things to particular bots to stop, to go long, to everything. So it's pretty useful, which is actually very simple to set up. You just go to settings of the user settings, and there's a section for Telegram where you have to put your user on Telegram, and it's going to ask you to connect the two things. It takes literally 30 seconds, and it's very useful. When you are starting on 3commas, you probably want to see what's going on with your account and how the bots are performing. And this is perfect for that. After a while, it's going to become very verbose, in which case you can go to your settings and start doing some fine-tuning on what events you don't want. I suggest you get all the deals close enabled, plus if there's any error. So for example, there's not enough funds to trade or to open a base order, stuff like that. You want to know. If you don't have this, on the website, it won't tell you unless you go to the bot, you go to the log, and you start scrolling through the logs to find what's going wrong. So it's good to have it here and to get notified in the beginning in case you're doing something horribly wrong and the whole day doing the wrong thing. It's good to see it here. You scroll through the events, and then you go to the website and you take care of it. If you don't get it, you won't get any notification in the 3commas apps, iOS or Android. You won't know what's wrong until it's very late. Hopefully not. Okay, and tip 11, this is more like a bonus tip. I recommend that you don't invest on bots more than 5% of your capital. That is already a lot. I mean, bots are very volatile and they represent a lot of risk. You really need to have seen how they perform for a long time to get an idea of how they can really overreact to variations in price of BTC, variations of ETH. These big coins, they really affect all the altcoins, and the bots, can really turn into massively red. But for you to have an idea on how they can overreact, look at this. In November, the price of Bitcoin went 16% down in a few minutes, and this turned from 4,000 of profit into minus 1,600, and that happened in just during a single day. Of course, they recover. Yeah, they do recover, but if this might not be for everybody, maybe not everybody is willing to take this, and if this was all your money, it can really be scary. So I do recommend that either you try bots for at least 1 or 2 months on paper trading, or you are actually trading with a little percentage of your capital that you're willing to see to go up and down. I'm confident that my bots, on the long run, they keep going up. But if you get scared on a dip like this and you pull out, basically you took all the hit, you never recover, and you lost your money, and then you hate bots. So for me, it's fine. I mean, a few days after, I'm exactly where I was, and I keep going. I mean, this is just a paper trading, just to give you an example. But in my real account, I've seen this drops. Those are expected, and I try to avoid them with signals and different things. But sometimes they're unavoidable, and you're just gonna take a hit. So for that, be prepared, and don't put all your money. Don't get excited on this curve when you're going up and decide to invest everything because it's just going super amazing. And then you take the hit and you lose a lot. You close the boats, you close your 3commas account, you go home, boom. No, that's bad. So it's a bonus tip, but in my opinion, it's the most important of all, because I want you to do well. Thanks very much, guys. I hope you find at least one of these tips very useful. If you did, please consider subscribing, hitting the notification bell, hit the like as well. That's awesome for me. But the best thing that you can ever do to support this channel is to leave a comment, to engage in the different videos, leaving different comments. That's the best way this channel can really grow. Seriously, it can really grow. So for those who have already done it, I really appreciate it. The channel is doing pretty well. I'm really excited with this project. I'm really enjoying it. So see you in the next one. Thank you. Bye.